Oscar and BAFTA winning editor for the film Argo in 2012, directed by Ben Affleck, and nominated that same year for his brilliant work on Zero Dark 30, directed by Catherine Bigelow. He has received 3 additional editing Oscar nominations for The Imitation Game in 2014, Seabiscuit in 2003, and The Insider in 1999. In 1998, he worked on Pleasantville, one of the first films to use the digital intermediate process to blend black and white and color storytelling. He worked on one of my all-time favorite films, Heat, directed by Michael Mann. But today, we're here because in 2024, he made his directorial debut with Unstoppable, an inspiring sports drama about Anthony Robles, played by Jarrell Jerome. Born without a leg, Robles overcame immense odds to win the NCAA Wrestling Championship in 2011. The film features a powerhouse cast including Jennifer Lopez, Michael Pena, Don Cheadle, Bobby Cannavale. This film is now available to stream on Prime Video. My friend and the man who taught me how to make the perfect vodka martini, Mr. William Goldenberg. Billy, thank you so much for making the time to be on the show today.
My pleasure.
I appreciate you making the time today. You're currently in London. It's like 8:30 p.m. there. Congrats on the film. Don and I watched it. We really, really loved it. Things I liked. I liked the soundtrack. I liked the cinematography style, that was almost slightly handheld. It made me feel like I was really living the experience right next to him. And the attention to detail, like the cauliflower ear in Don Cheadle's character. So I really appreciate that. Tell me how this film came to your radar and how you started working on it.
Well, about 7 years ago, actually, this producer that I worked with a couple of times named David Crockett, who's a producer on Unstoppable, he and a couple other guys, one of them being Anthony's manager, had the rights to his story. They were looking for a director. They had been looking, I think they had a lot of misfires even from the time Anthony won the championship in 2011. And he heard I was looking for something to direct, and I had been for a few years since Argo, but it's very hard to be a full-time editor and find material to direct. So David Crockett, his name is, he brought the film to me, or the idea to me, and I loved the story. I didn't like the screenplay they had, so first I went to Arizona and met Anthony and hung out with him and his family for 4 days, and he showed me all around and showed me where he grew up and all the different things and all. I'd read his book, and his book was incredibly inspiring. And then once I met him and got to hang with him a bit, I'd never really met anybody who had that sort of effect on other people. And wherever he would go in this sort of Tempe, Phoenix area, which was, they're all sort of close together, and Mesa, where he's grew up. Everybody knows him. Everybody wants a picture. Everybody wants to say hello. And we also went to a wrestling camp that his coach, who's played by Michael Pena, Coach Williams, he was running a wrestling camp, and Anthony and I went and visited him, and to see the effect that Anthony had on kids and the people that he came in contact with, I'd never seen anybody who that quickly would have that kind of impact on people. He just makes everybody feel better, makes everything seem better. He's one of those people who comes into a room and lights up the room. And I met his mom, and I just thought, my instincts told me I should go for this. I've done everything in my career based on what my instincts tell me, and my instincts told me to do this. But it took 7 years to get it off the ground, and a lot of stops and starts in the pandemic. And Ben Affleck and Matt Damon started their company, Artist Equity. I gave the script to Ben because so much time had gone by, and I was just said, look, you read this and tell me if you think it's any good. I've lost perspective. And he loved it. I said, look, I'm not asking you to make this. I just want to know what your opinion is.
Yeah.
But he said, no, we love this. And he gave it to Matt. Matt loved it. And he gave it to Jennifer Lopez because the part of Judy was perfect for her. And she got on board. And once that happened, we went to Amazon with that package, and they bought it. And then we, it all quickly, I think I gave the script to Ben in October of 22, and we were shooting in May of 23.
Wow.
So it was pretty fast off, once we got going. And so that's how the origin story of this movie.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, you've spent a long time in a cutting room, uh, and what was it like to go from the cutting room to the director chair?
Yeah, I mean, I've had the good fortune of working with some of the best directors in the world, I mean, and I've obviously just by being next to them and observing them, and I've spent a lot of time on the set in certain movies, and I just kind of grabbed all the best things that stuck with me, like you were talking about it being handheld, and which it was. 98% of it was handheld, and um, it's a style that Catherine and Paul Greengrass both use a lot, and as an editor, I love that kind of footage. So, and I thought it would be right for this film, maybe separated a little bit from other sports-oriented films, and so I wanted to do that. I thought it was a way to shoot quickly too, because we didn't have a big budget,
Hmm.
and at a certain point, you have to just do it. And I had a choice between freezing up and being freaked out, and just not knowing, and then being hesitant about everything, or just, acting as if I were a director. So first day was very nerve wracking, but, I quickly realized how talented everybody on the crew was and how much support I had. And as one does, you get more and more comfortable with things as you do them more. And being an editor and all the experience I've had as an editor helped a tremendous amount in terms of where I wanted to put the camera, obviously how I wanted to shoot it, what coverage I needed, eye lines and screen direction. And, the thing I didn't have that much experience with, or almost none really, was talking to actors. And so I sat in on a lot of classes, directing classes, acting classes that friends of mine teach, and read books, and watch videos online of directors talking about that. And ultimately what I ended up doing is talking to the actors like I'd like directors to talk to me when I'm an editor, because I don't have to sit with Don Cheadle and explain to him how to act, or Jennifer, or any of the cast,
Yeah.
Jarrell. I mean, so it was more about what movie are we making, what's the tone, what's the subtext, and we'd have long conversations about that. Most of those happened before we started shooting. We didn't have a lot of rehearsal time, in fact almost none, because of the schedules of the actors. And they all made it easy on me. They all had incredibly great ideas about story, about their characters, about blocking, about everything. And I was just really nervous to say. It was more like, not that I didn't know what I wanted to say. It was more like, I got to go tell Bobby Cannavale but you get over that really fast. They were all such incredibly nice people too. And I've sort of made a career out of acting confident when I'm not. So,
Wow,
well,
that's impressive. And I mean, I know you're very enjoyable to be around, and you give off that vibe anyway. So I can imagine everybody around you wanted to help you tell your story.
I hope so. And I think more of that, and more than me, it was Anthony. The first thing we shot was all the sort of family drama stuff in the
Yeah.
Robles family house. And Judy and Anthony weren't around very much at all for that, because we all felt a little, it would be uncomfortable. It was going to be uncomfortable for the actors. They didn't really want that, and I didn't, and I thought it would be rough on Anthony and Judy. But once we finished that, they were around almost every day. I mean, and Anthony was Jarrell's body double and stunt double.
Wow.
He was, he's a part of the film all over the
Wow.
place. I mean, he's even credited on the film as an actor, because he and Jarrell both did all the wrestling and all the choreography. He choreographed the wrestling with another gentleman named Brian Stiff, who was Anthony's assistant coach at ASU the whole time he was there, and he was another one of our wrestling coordinators. So he was involved with everything, and like I said, he was on the set all the time. And I think it was inspiring to everybody, and everybody loved the story. Everybody loved the project. I think the crew really got along well. So everybody wanted to do justice to it. And I think they respected me, and they respected the story, and everybody was, it was a really happy crew. I mean, there was no like, we can't have that one sit next to that one, like it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
all,
yeah.
everybody, it was sort of a love fest.
You have an actor who seamlessly walks and looks like he doesn't have a leg. And so aside from the VFX to remove the leg, you have how he is on the crutches, all of that, your whole team must have spent a lot of time thinking about how to make that really look believable. Because, I mean, you don't doubt it for a second. I mean, you just keep forgetting what you're looking at,
Yeah, I mean, we did do the leg removal, obviously, when it was Jarrell and when it was Anthony in the wrestling and on the when they kind of hike up the peak and a couple other spots. We did face replacements to put Jarrell's face and head really on.
Oh, wow.
On Anthony's body. But we realized, or I realized early on, we were going to need somebody to train Jarrell to walk with crutches in a way that, as Jarrell puts it, like he didn't sprain his ankle the week before, and so we hired a movement coach who happens to be my wife.
Cool.
Oh, yeah, you didn't know that.
No, that's cool.
My wife, she was a professional modern dancer. She's been a personal trainer. She's a trained movement coach and has been took millions of classes to do that. And I thought, well, I trust her. I know she'll do a good job. She won't bullshit me. She won't overcharge. And she's also she gets along with people. She's very, she comes from a family of therapists. So I think that she and Jarrell got along great. And what we did was we filmed Anthony, on a cell phone. We filmed Anthony doing everything that he does in a day, whether it's getting in bed, out of bed, opening a car door, getting in a car, opening, closing a door, going up steps, carrying a drink of water, whatever it is, you don't think about like all the different things. So we videotaped him doing all that, and they just, Allison worked with him to make him look like Anthony did. And, because Jarrell's a young guy, his posture's not great, and Anthony's, as Allison referred to, as a martini glass, it was just straight up and down, but Anthony's got the best posture of anybody I've ever seen. So they worked on that, and then we would do like side-by-side demonstrations where they would wear the same costume or wardrobe, and then we would videotape them doing things side by side to the point where they were mirror images. Allison and Jarrell would go out, just go out to a store or out walking down the street and just do stuff on crutches just to get him comfortable with being out in public. And by the time we shot, he was a quick study anyway, and by the time we shot, he was really good on. I mean, you don't think about it as like the closing the door thing was like,
right.
One of the hardest things is it seems simple, but to do it and look, there's points where he has to go and slam the door or whatever. To do that where you don't look like you're like, klutzy and, he did a great job, and as did Allison. So Anthony and Brian trained him to wrestle and in Anthony's style, and obviously, like I said, choreographed the matches to be so he'd wrestle in Anthony's style and his signature moves and things like that.
The scene where, they're going up that trail in the desert, that was like so full of tension, I'm just sitting there, holding my breath because it just seemed like in every second he was just going to completely collapse. You know what I mean? So to watch that happen and watch that drive in the story was a lot of fun to experience that.
Yeah, Anthony I knew could do it, but Jarrell never really practiced on the trail. We just went out there and I said, you got to do that. And he was totally fine with it. He was great. Yeah. Anthony was he was so good at it that I had to slow him down actually, because at the top part of that, it's really steep. There's a one whole trail that goes way up, but we didn't have time to shoot the whole thing. So we shot the bottom and we picked out certain parts of the trail that were the most cinematic and steep. And the real place where he did it is nearby, but we couldn't shut it down to shoot on it. And there was no access. Cheetah looked at me like, you're such an asshole. You're making this guy do that. I mean, he's got one leg, and then I looked at him and I said, just watch. And then Anthony did it. He looked like he was flying. He did it so fast. And it was steep. And I literally had to say to him, you're at the end of 3 miles. You can't make it look that easy. It's got to be like you're straining, so did it a few more times where he looked a little, because Anthony is such a competitive person, like the idea that he would be struggling with something,
Right.
so he slowed it down and made it look harder.
Yeah, it's super impressive. And shout out to your DP, because I mean, there's so many of those shots where I felt like I was standing next to him or standing in the room, your direction, of course. And so I really love that style. It was unexpected for me when I saw the film, because not that many people do that in this kind of style movie.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do. Like put the audience in the room with him and the family, and we tried to do everything so you'd feel like you were observing everything through his eyes. I mean, and as much as we could, and the wrestling, same thing. We had 3 cameras, and they were all right on the mat, and I mean, in the tighter stuff. And they had a head called a Rialto head, which is able to detach the head from the camera, so it's much lighter, and they have a long cable that goes to the camera body. So they were able to, swing the camera around in a way that they could never do with a full heavy thing,
Oh, wow.
And every take was different. They all knew the choreography, but we shot it from different angles, even though it was the same setups. We'd do other, just change it up every time. So
there's no Citizen Kane where you're digging out floors?
No, we did one thing like that, which was we built an 8.5 by 4.5 foot glass platform that was 4 feet off the ground, and we shot up through it. I mean, it's you can see it in the film. It's like so much of wrestling, especially Anthony, because he wrestles so low to the ground. The wrestlers are like have their heads down, and I thought, well, I want to experience what the pain or the stress or the strain. So we built this platform, and we shot just various different beats in the match. We couldn't do full on because it was too dangerous, and the glass is really hard, and our elbows and knees were getting the hell beat out of them. So we picked key moments in the matches to do that underneath angle, and Sal, the DP, did such a beautiful job of lighting it. It didn't, a lot of times that stuff where you get really in there with like a little like lipstick camera or something, it looks different, but he did it where it looks seamless, so we were able to get a point of view that you don't usually see. And that was one of the things actually that when I was pitching Amazon to let me direct the film that I talked about, and they loved it, and then they kept asking, and then it was going to be too expensive, but they kept asking about it. I was like, you got to build it because they keep asking about it. So we got it. I mean, it didn't cost that much, but it was.
Yeah.
But I didn't even see the thing until the day we were going to do it. They wheeled it out, Wow. We never tested it or anything. And it was the last thing of the day, and Sal had to light it. And he, it was a little like trial and error, lighting that thing. And, he did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, that's incredible. Tell me a little bit about the VFX. Like what was that process in a little more detail?
Jarrell wore green every time every scene, basically, he wore a green sock. And a green, if he was wrestling, he wore a green shoe, which was like every day it was a different green shoe, and there was green tape holding the shoe on.
Oh man,
there's a lot of green, but it only went up to as far as like his shorts, or his singlet. So we'd shoot a pass, and whenever we would see we were wide enough to see the leg, we would then do a plate. Because it was handheld, you couldn't quite get the exact move, but we would do the same angle with do a plate to fill in where we were going to remove the leg to fill in that part of the background. But then they had we did that in the wrestling as well, and we had to then create CG cloth because Anthony has no right hip either, so the way that the singlet hangs down or this pant leg hangs down was impossible to do with just wardrobe. And we did a thing where we had pants that we cut the back of him out, so his the whole pant leg would hang in front, and it worked a little, but mostly we just created CG cloth, and that was one of the most difficult things to do to make that look real, and it was a lot of shots. And then, like I said, when we did Anthony, we just shot Anthony. Jarrell got to the point. He and Jarrell are about almost exactly the same skin tone and height. So that we had that advantage. I mean, Anthony's a little bigger than him in the shoulders, so we had to in some shots, especially from the back, because Anthony's like, it would take 10 years for Jarrell to get that big or that muscly. So we slimmed him down in a couple shots in the wrestling, like maybe a dozen and a half shots or something. But anyway, when Anthony was wrestling, we just shot him, and then they used AI to do face replacements. So the computer, we fed the computer between 50 and 60,000 images of Jarrell. In all kinds of, and when I say image, it wasn't all stills, it was like moving video or whatever.
Right.
It was amounted to about 50 or 60,000 images and doing everything. They would just follow him around. He'd walk to the trailer and they would be shooting him. And
right.
So then the computer would, so the computer also would get the facial expression of like what he was doing. It wasn't just like some blank face, it was like they were able to like make him look strained or whatever. And we didn't do it anything tight because we didn't need to, because you could just see, really have Jarrell. But so the computer would do the face, and then, it took a lot of comp work to make it look real. It would get like in the ballpark, and then we had artists who would do the fine tune the comp work to make because the shape of their heads are a little bit different. Their forehead is, I think just everything's a little bit, different. So to get it perfect, that we needed human being artists to make it right. And then we had tons of crowd enhancement. I think we shot in the Galen Center at USC, which seats about 12,000. And we had the most extras we ever had there were about 250. So we would move them around to get them behind, like people most we could. But then we shot sprites, which are, they shoot individual people doing different things. They do it 250 or 300 people with like 4 cameras, so we get all these different angles of them, and in different wardrobe doing different things, standing, cheering, chanting Robles, whatever, booing. And then, we painstakingly took those 250 people and made them look like, thousands. At Galen Center, one end of it is there's no bleachers, a big open window. There's a huge window at the Galen Center looking out into downtown LA. And so it has curtains, so we closed the curtains, these black curtains that were there, and then they digitally put another section whenever we shot that way, they put put another section into the arena, looking at shots and be like, wait a second, that's the same person there and there doing the exact same movement. Because as many times as they thought they got it right, there was always, it was just like painstakingly going through it and changing wardrobe on the people and moving them around and changing their head positions. And it was a lot of painstaking work looking at shots over and over and over again, because, there's so many people. You have to like, okay, let's look at this section. Okay, run it 18 more times with this section, so, that was the bulk of the work. I mean, it's a lot of, we did a lot of shots. I think there were between 650 and 700 shots.
Wow.
For
Incredible.
A movie that wasn't that expensive. And so it was more visual effects than anybody thought it would be, because there was no way to shoot that thing handheld and go, okay, let's not see the crowd and let's not see the bleachers. It just didn't work.
I keep thinking back and appreciate the fact that you directed a movie about a real individual with a real story who was there on set. You know what I mean? And that's an added pressure, because you obviously want to do this the right way and, not just flip this thing out so that it's content out in the world. Hats off to you for really, paying attention to that and wanting to get it right. And it really does come through on the film. So it's, congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, we were very, the Robles family was really involved, and obviously Anthony the most. But every draft of the script, we would give it to them, and they would literally get together as a family. Anthony and his 4 siblings and Judy, and they would sit and read through the script together. And there were only a few times where they sort of objected to something or rather not show that, or that didn't really happen that way, and we don't want. Rick's real name is Ron. We changed it for legal reasons, but he's still the other four siblings' father. They have no contact with him, but he's still their father. So we didn't want to we wanted it to be true to their experience and not embellish. It didn't need to be embellished, but we didn't want to do anything that was not true. And the story is so compelling, the true events are so compelling that we really didn't have to make a lot of stuff up. And you always, even as an editor, you feel this incredible weight of responsibility to get it right for the people whose story you're telling. And a lot of times those people are dead. Like Alan Turing, we showed it to some of the members of the Turing family, but it wasn't Alan.
Right.
But this was them, and Judy's 50 and Anthony are 52 or 3, and Anthony's 36. And so they have a lot of life left, and their family does. So I wanted, that it was important to me that they were happy with the film, proud of the film. So they were, I don't know that I assume that there's been movies where the real people as involved as the Robles family was, but I don't know if, they had a hand in everything. And like I said, Anthony was the wrestling coordinator plus the stunt double, he was a better stunt double than the stunt. We had stunt guys, but not for the wrestling, but for falling down on the trail. And Anthony did that. And he was so good that at one point I almost ruined the shot, because when he fell down, I almost jumped into, I was like, my arm, I had to remove my hand, as you could see, because I was lurching towards the thing, because I thought he really hurt himself. Yeah, I was thrilled how involved they were. And I think it was inspiring for everybody, everybody, like when Judy and Anthony walked onto the set for the NCAA finals in his senior year, it was identical to the way the Wells Fargo Center looked in Philadelphia. It was so spot on, right even to the plants, everything. And they walked into the Galen Center, and they both burst into tears. It was and Judy cries at everything. She wouldn't deny it. Judy and Jennifer got really close.
Cool.
Judy revealed stuff to Jennifer that she hadn't revealed to me or the writer. And Jennifer said, "Are you comfortable with me adding this to the script?" Whether it was just even the way she touched Anthony's face, or there were stories that she told, and that letter scene where, that really happened. I had the letters.
Wow.
Judy revealed some stuff to Jennifer that we put into the scene, the story about feeling responsible because she, for him feeling like it was her fault. The fact that Judy's mom wanted to raise Anthony as Judy's brother. That wasn't in the script. Jennifer asked if she could improv it, and I said, "Yeah, sure. That sounds, it's phenomenal." And we didn't even tell Jarrell that she was going to do it. So
wow.
A lot of those reactions are real, because we just said, let's just do it and see what Jarrell does, So that was, it added, that relationship that Jennifer and Judy had added so much to the film, because it was, it just added layers to the reality of it. I even though the audience doesn't know that Judy really did that or whatever, but it just feels authentic because it is. The wrestling, I wanted to, I've seen every movie, obviously, with any wrestling in it, just to see how they did it, and I've seen every movie with boxing in it, even because to see how anything like that one-on-one physical competition, how it's filmed, and I didn't see any wrestling that looked real to me. I've met so many people in the wrestling community, the head of USA Wrestling, the head of Flow Wrestling, which is the YouTube of wrestling, college wrestling, and a million wrestlers. And I just wanted to get it right for them. I wanted to make it real. And I just heard Johnny DeJulius, who plays Matt McDonough, who's Division I college wrestler, who wrestled Matt McDonough in the semifinals of the Nationals the next year, who happens to look just like him. I got an email from him today, or a text from him today, saying the head of Flow Wrestling said, finally, a movie about wrestling where the wrestling looks great, So that was a big deal for me.
Wow.
But we had Division One. All the wrestlers were played by Division One college wrestlers. All the main wrestlers, everybody was a Division One, sometimes Division Two. All the coaches were real coaches. All the referees were real referees. The announcers are real announcers. I mean, the guy Shane Sparks, who did the final match, really did Anthony's final match. He's Anthony's broadcast partner at ESPN right now. So, and he was amazing. He added so much. I just said, he had scripted dialogue, and I just said, announce the match, and he had his mic was live on every take. So even if he wasn't on camera, so I had like tons and tons of his improv stuff just by announcing it. And, and the same thing with Adam Amin, who did the junior year. These guys, they were so excited. And the guy Angel, who was the referee in the final match, he refs all the final, and see, he didn't do Anthony's, but he does all the final matches now. So, and the wrestlers, because it's not like boxing where you can't hit somebody, you can't hit somebody in the face full on over and over and over again. You're just going so you have to pull your punches. Wrestling, they don't, they're wrestling full out, even with Jarrell. I mean, because Jarrell got pretty good. And so they're wrestling 100%. I mean, it's choreographed, but they're not like pulling back. So it looks real because it is, they're just doing choreography.
How influential were like Jennifer or the production team? Did you guys all see eye to eye on the final cut, or did you guys go back and forth? Or
well, I mean, the only one who would have really, it was Amazon had some things to say, which we paid attention to. Not everything, and, it's like always like do what they mean, not what they say.
Yes.
Because they'll say something and then they'll do something else. It's like, I'm not taking that out, but I know why you feel that way. I have to do something earlier to, that stuff. And Ben, he gave us great notes. Like he gave us the most notes and they were great. He's a phenomenal storyteller. And, the movie was good, and it got much better when I did his notes. And yeah, Jennifer contributed a whole lot during the shooting. I mean, she'd always have great suggestions. I mean, I didn't do all of them, but a lot of them I did do, because then, Cheadle had great suggestions with his character. He's directed before, so he was really helpful on set. And he and Jarrell really got along, and there was a coach-athlete kind of relationship in their real relationship, because Don's such a gifted actor and so, accomplished, and Jarrell really respects him. And so Don has sort of taken Jarrell under his wing a bit, and it was great for the movie as well as their real relationship. I mean, I think they've become really close and they stay in touch, and Don is just like the nicest, all of them, Don, Bobby. Cool. Bobby's the nicest guy in the world, and he plays such a dick in the movie, and he's such a good guy. We'd be like, in the morning, you watched the basketball game last night? Oh yeah, the baseball, and then like 2 minutes later, he's like, barking at Jennifer, But he kept the set really light because he's such a good guy. It was so heavy those days, and he would break everybody up a little bit because he knew like there was so much tension because of that was so real when they were doing stuff. And I think he lightened things up in a way that made everybody feel a little more relaxed. Like right before we started shooting, I hadn't even met him in person, and because we only met on Zoom because he's in New York. And I got a call like a week before, Bobby, love to have a drink with you and, say hi and whatever. And I was like, oh boy. And then, what's this going to be? And then like we went and met, and like 3.5 hours later, we were like, wait a second, I got to go home. He's a great guy. Like he was the first, like when the fires happened, he was one of the first people to text and he asked me if I was okay and my family. And, so he's just and Cheadle, we lived near each other. So we were
cool.
It was that night that the fire happened, was going to be the LA premiere. And
Mark said, he mentioned that.
Had to cancel it, yeah. So, but Don and I were texting, are you evacuating? Not yet, are you? And then we both I'm going, because he only lives a few blocks from me.
Seeing Aaron at the very beginning of the film being yelled at by J-Lo was like, she okay? Fun. Is Aaron okay?
Well, that was funny because the first couple of takes, went over to Aaron and I can't remember the young woman who was snickering girl number two, snickering high school girl number two. And I said, you guys got to be more shocked, more slow, more scared when, like you're not expecting his mother to be right there. And Jennifer was, was only 7 feet away. She said, I'll scare him. And she added a line which we took out, but she added, I think she said, what are you laughing at? Like, or, and it's shocking. You could see, like, they were both, it was really funny because I think Jennifer really got into it. She was like, I'll scare him.
I love that. That's so fun. I love that. Yeah, it was super fun to see her. So any more directed by William Goldenberg opening title credits in our future that we're going to see?
Hopefully. Yeah. I mean, our Artist Equity and I have another film we're trying to get going called Outside and then they have some other stuff they're going to send me. They want me to do another film for them. And, but the plan is that I would love to direct one, edit one, we'll see how that works. But I don't want to stop editing. I love it. I love the people I work with. I'm here in London cutting a film for Paul Greengrass. That's came out great. We're almost done.
Cool.
So yeah, I'd love to do it again. I had a great time. I had a way better time than I expected, to be honest with you. I thought, oh yeah, let me just do this, and then I'll hate it, but because I'm out with a lot of people usually, I don't have 200 people in the editing room, and I thought on set it's going to really annoy me, but it didn't. I loved it. Everybody was so nice and supportive, and we got shut down by the actors and the writers' strike.
Yep.
We shot 11 days, and then we got shut down for 6 months, which was its own hell. And when we came back up, we shot all through the holidays last year. We had Christmas Day and New Year's Day off. Pardon me, and so we all spent the holidays together, and we were all Christmas. We were all wearing Christmas decorations, and so it was it became a real family. And even though it was already, we even got tighter, and nobody was grumpy. Everybody was so ready to work anyway, but nobody was sort of grumpy about having to spend their holidays on set, and everybody's really into it. And so it was, I had a really wonderful time.
That's so exciting to hear. I look forward to the next one and watching that play out. And well, Billy, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. And we will talk next time.
Right. I can't wait.